Street life, because that's no place I can go. Street life, it's the only life I know. Street life, and there's 1,000 parts to play. Street life, until you play your life away. You let the people see just who you wanna be. And every night you shine, just like a superstar. Travel like the slave, a 10-foot masquerade. Because you walk, you talk, you're who you think you are. Street life, you can run away from time. Street life, for a nickel or a dime. Street life, but you better not get old. Street life, or you're gonna feel the cold. There's always love for sale, a little fairy tale. Then charming always smiles behind the silver spoon.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to We Got This WA webinar series here in partnership with Business Health Trust and the Chamber. Before we get started, I wanted to go over just a few logistics. First, if you have questions during the webinar, please use the Q&A box chat panel. And then there's the chat panel that you can use if you have questions about connection or any sort of difficulties during the webinar. There will be a recording available on the event page of the Seattle Metro Chamber later today as well. So before we get started, just wanted to thank our event partner, Business Health Trust and the Seattle Metro Chamber, and our event sponsor, Symmetra. We're really excited about this series in particular because the goal is to bring experts directly to member companies, to employees, and to business owners and operators. And today, I'd love to welcome Olga to turn on her video. I'm very excited to share an innovation moment. Olga, thank you so much for being here with us today. And I would just love to hear what you were doing. Catch-22, what is it? How have you innovated and how did it come to be?
Thank you for having me. Catch-22 is a hub for local restaurants to come together and move a needle in third-party ordering and third-party platforms, and really make a difference and have people go to our own websites and stop using Uber Eats and third-party platforms for ordering.
So really, this is an innovative solution to help support small businesses, locally owned businesses in the area for takeout and delivery. How did this come to be?
It came to be from very selfish reasons. No one was going to my website, and I was very frustrated because nobody would visit my website. And when everything kind of fell apart, Uber Eats was still working, DoorDash was still working, all your third-party platforms, but their fees were so high that even when I was fulfilling orders, we were not making any money. And I wanted to keep all my employees employed, and they were ready to hop in a car and start delivering, but no one would visit my site. So I said, well, if nobody visits my website, maybe I can put several businesses together and we can tell public, hey, we have our own websites. Please come to our own websites. And that's how Catch-22 started.
That's great. So I was on the website earlier today, and all of my favorite places are on there, including Pierogi. We were talking right before this webinar that we have to make sure that, you know, your business not only is around but thrives, because we all need our pierogies. They're so wonderful.
Thank you.
This is, I think, just such a great example of innovation that we're seeing in the business community. So thank you so much for doing that. In the chat panel right now, Lee did just put a link to the Catch-22 website, and I would encourage folks to, one, use it to have lunch, have dinner, and your takeout and delivery needs, and also to consider donating to this. This is a cooperative of businesses that will be run strictly to help promote small business and help support them right now and going forward in the future. So helping to support the cost of this platform and such is very much appreciated as well. So thank you so much for being here and for being our innovation moment today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
You're welcome. So we are going to talk in this webinar about how to take care of yourself and your body while you are working from home. So as you can see, I'm in my home office here, and I'm very excited to have Carrie Field, a physical therapist from Peak Sports and Spine, joining us today. So Carrie, go ahead and turn on your video. Tell us a little bit about you. Who is Carrie, and you know, how long have you been practicing? Give us a little background.
I am a physical therapist. I've been practicing it's been a decade. It's decade this month, so 10 years. I've been with Peak the whole time. Outpatient PT is wonderful. We get to do so much different stuff, including shift to telehealth during COVID-19. It's been interesting to actually see, you know, like what we think patients do at home and what patients actually do at home, what their setups are like. We're seeing a lot of interesting stuff, and it's been very eye-opening for us just to realize how much we can communicate differently and help people do better at home.
Great.
So, yeah.
Well, my first question for you is, what should people not be doing right now?
Well, for those of you laying in bed, either on your back or on your tummy, or sitting on the couch slumped over with your laptop on your knees, those are things that obviously all of us do. Everyone's going to do it sometimes. You're working from home, you're tired, you're in your sweatpants, you might have like business on top, you know, casual on the bottom, whatever you need to do. But the reality is the amount of time you're spending on a really soft compliant surface, like your bed, like your couch, the more you do that, the bigger hole you may or may not end up having to dig yourself out of later. So the reality of a soft surface and how it kind of causes your body to slump over, it happens quicker, it's more extreme, and it's comfortable for a while, but we all end up paying for it. We're not perfect. So you are going to probably still spend some time on your couch, some time in your bed, some time at the weird high countertop in your kitchen because you have to watch your kids because they're not eating their lunch or something. But minimizing that,
right? We're never multitasking these days. We're very effective.
So minimizing those times is really the most realistic way to try to stop doing the worst things, and just finding ways to get creative and mix it up.
Okay, so one of the things to stay away from is working just on your couch, your bed, kind of this hunch, right, over your laptop.
Also this.
Oh, the cell phone, right?
Also this,
okay.
For a long period of time.
Okay.
Without looking at anybody. Yep, those are the things. I mean, they're obvious, right? But it's stuff you don't even realize that you're doing. How long you end up doing it for, right? And that's the big picture, is breaking those times up so that you don't have to be battling it later.
What are some things that people typically do when they're in an office environment that help them on a daily basis that they might not know, that is something, you know, to start thinking about building into your day?
No, that's a great question, because the reality of being at the office, you don't think about how many times you may or may not get up out of your chair to go ask somebody a question or throw that thing away or shred the thing because you don't have the shredder, or just go to the bathroom, drink the water, do whatever all the things are. Now at home, obviously there's different kinds of interruptions, and your coworkers, your children or your husband or your spouse, whoever, it might be a different situation, but it's the amount of steps that you're not taking, getting into your car, walking from the parking lot to the building, going up the stairs, walking down the hall, all of those things. And those little things that do break up the periods of sitting make a huge difference. For myself here at the clinic, I've been doing a lot of online treatment versus here, normally, I'm not sitting. I'm exercising, moving, standing on the floor, getting up, doing all sorts of things. I maybe sit for the hour that I have lunch. But now that I'm sitting here in front of a screen for 4 to 6 hour chunks at a time, I'm realizing I'm hardly getting up, and your body pays for that. So finding excuses to create situations that make you get up periodically is something you need to do, because you don't even know how much less you're doing it.
Yeah, some of the things as we were chatting yesterday that stood out to me as ways to incorporate movement into your day was, you know, having a slightly smaller glass of water so that you have to go, you know, even if it's close, or go downstairs to get up walk around, fill that glass of water. I actually put a sticky note at after talking with you of like, you know, look around. Don't just look straight on my computer constantly, and get up and move. So I have now a calendar reminder every couple hours of
something,
walk downstairs.
something popping up in your face is helpful. Everybody who can set that up on your computer, I highly recommend it. If after a while you're just going to start ignoring that, find a new way to interrupt yourself, just to look away, right? There's all the rules, there's the very strict ergonomic things, and then there's reality. Try to live somewhere in the spectrum, not the wrong end of it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned perfection, of ergonomic perfection. We're not all living there. I don't know that all of us live there on a daily basis, even in an office setting. Talk to us about some ways that people could set themselves up at home. What should they be thinking about? What are those things that they need to do?
Absolutely. There's been a lot of creative desk setups. I think my winner was someone's using their washing machine as their desk, and she's got this like plush pseudo leather chair that is wedged between the wall. I mean, people are really struggling with their home setups, especially because they're sharing again with family members and etc. The big stuff to think about, there's kind of the big, I don't know if you call them the big three, but there's what's your neck and shoulders doing? What's your hip and low back situation? And where are your feet? And if you kind of look at your odds of manipulating those variables to get a little bit less irritable, then you're going to be a lot more comfortable at the end of your workday and at the end of however long it is that you end up having to work from home. So if we start with, say, the monitor situation first, kind of work from the top down. I've got a treatment table. I'm in a treatment room right now, so I have the ability to raise and lower this so we can look at a few things. Here we are. I'm going to sit in my chair.
And Carrie, let me interrupt you real quick. So for those participating on the video chat, you can actually take Carrie's video and expand it so that you can see your full screen of what she's doing. So I recommend doing that.
All right. So when I'm sitting here, I've got just a standard sort of waiting room chair here, and I'll tilt the screen as we go lower so you can kind of see where my hips and my feet end up. But if I was here, most of you probably working from home on a laptop, if you've got a monitor set up, good job, lucky you. The amount of people who I've seen who don't have access to that is pretty high. So if you're working with a laptop particularly, this gets challenging because you need the monitor at a certain height, but you also want the keyboard at a certain height as well. Because if the monitor is at the right height, you're going to be up here. You're going to be typing like this, and eventually you're just going to get tired. You're going to end like this, and that's what most people end up doing. So the easiest thing to do is grab a couple of those textbooks that you haven't opened since college or whatever, stack them up. Tupperware works. I've heard that that's something that some people are using at home. Couple of sturdy items to raise up. You want that screen to be close to eye level. You can tilt it so you kind of gently tuck your chin. Again, there are perfect, and then there's get as close as you can. But raising that monitor up so that you don't end up letting gravity take over and you end up down low is really one of the bigger things that you should start with. Get that set up first, and then you can adjust everything on the way down.
Okay. So monitor should be kind of eye level ahead with a slight chin tuck is what I think.
Roughly at eye level, if it helps to tilt it so that you kind of have to look a little tiny bit downward, but not to the point where you're down here, right? It's a very subtle motion. Yeah.
This is probably the best posture I've had working from home right now, talking to you. So
congratulations.
And I'm definitely a Tupperware elevated laptop user currently. So
there are a lot of cheaper online options if you want something a little bit more official, but again, who's going to see it? Nobody, just you. If it works, it doesn't have to be fancy, and that's the big picture. So
if you have, you have your laptop up there, you have it at the proper height, the keyboard. So the keyboard's on the laptop.
Yes, the keyboard is a struggle. So this is where I do highly, highly recommend either you investing in yourself or asking your employer if they have options for you. Get a removable or a Bluetooth keyboard for your laptop if you only are working from a laptop at home. Ta-da! It looks so good. Oftentimes they're paired with a mouse, which is even better, so you don't have like one hand up here and one hand down low. You want to have the monitor set up so that your shoulders are relaxed. You want to be roughly, and again, I have the ease of raising and lowering my table, and not everybody does. You want to be relaxed at the shoulders and roughly 90 degrees at your elbows when you're typing. There's the old sort of carpal tunnel situation if it's too high. A lot of office working folk are familiar with that. You want to be comfortably here. This is a good place to be.
And you had shared with me a resource that I'm going to put in the chat panel right now, which is a $17 portable or Bluetooth keyboard. So that's a great option for people at a pretty affordable rate.
We use those here at the clinic ourselves. They work great. So yeah, no issues.
Right.
So from the head and shoulders perspective there, now you're getting that set up. When you get to that point, you got to look at the chair that you're sitting in, right? So again, we talked about the couch. I'm going to tilt my screen down just a little bit so you guys can see my hips a little bit better. So this chair, and I am not a person with particularly long legs. People who have long legs, you guys find yourself here a heck of a lot more than I do. And all the more reason why this is going to be a tip that you want to look into. Because while this directly you could feel like has an effect on your hips or your low back, it makes me want to be here. So again, all that nice setup you just did is for naught if you still end up kind of curving yourself down. So figuring out what to do for your seating system is going to be important. Again, it doesn't have to be the fancy chair with all the levers that you can't figure out. What we're going to use is something simple. This is a foam pad that we have at the clinic. Bath towels, folded bath towels, they're usually firm enough. You can use certain, like outdoor pillows are a little bit firmer, something like that, but a little bit of something just to raise your sit bones. So what you want in a perfect world is you want your hips to be at least knee height, if not slightly higher. And again, find the closest that you can get to here. If you have a hard time getting this, but this doesn't match, get as close as you can. Anything you can do to avoid that curved sort of C-shaped spine is going to save you some trouble. So that's the hip angle. With the backrest portion, that's pretty variable. If you're on a stool, if you're on something without a back on it, I do encourage you to try to find something with a little back support. But again, myself, if I scoot back in this chair, let me fix that one more time. If I scoot back in this chair to have a backrest, well, now my feet can't touch the floor and the chair's too deep for me, right? So I honestly don't sit for long enough periods where I would want to end up like this anyway. I would scoot forward. I would just work here without the support of a rest. If you find that you need one, bring the backrest to you. Pillows work just fine. 1, 2, whatever it is you need, you can fold it, right? Whatever it takes for you to feel like you've got a little something to help you stay close to where you want to be.
So right now you have kind of a backrest so that you're not arching back or leaning back. Your hips are higher than your knees a little bit, and feet are on the floor.
Yeah.
If you imagine with pillows, if you're not able to touch the floor, using a pillow or some towels, something like that could also be helpful to raise the floor up a little bit too.
Exactly. And that's the last piece is you do want your feet to be able to touch the floor because no matter, again, how well you're doing here, your back might take a little bit of a hit if you're swinging your legs. And that one I know personally. Again, oftentimes my feet don't actually touch the floor. So it's one of those things where books work great, random piece of plywood. If you've got some office supplies around, boxes full of paper reams work really well. You can stack up a lot of different things.
Old Amazon delivery boxes.
Everybody's got probably some kind of delivery box around their house at this point in time. But that's the reality of the home office. Again, you have to get creative and you have to work with your space because not everybody's going to have what they want.
Great. So we've kind of walked through some of the setup, some of the not to-dos.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody set up well. Walk us through some stretches that can help as people are probably not in a perfect situation, and there might be some head, neck, back pain happening that is different. So do you have some stretches that folks can be easily doing from home? And with that, Lee, I will ask you to share those in the chat panel as well as Carrie walks through them.
Perfect. So I'm not sure exactly the order that they are going to be in. I know we shared them. I'll start with some of the simple neck stuff first. So the big picture is moving. Honestly, you'll read it online anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes. Try to move every hour, do something on purpose. I mean, that's again the reality of try to do it. So whether that's even just looking away from your computer screen for a second, just some neck movement, some range of motion. But realistically, we all get tight kind of up in here. You're going to get that sort of achy up through the neck and the kind of the top of the back of the shoulders. So a simple stretch to sort of get after what we call your upper trap, upper trapezius. It kind of goes from here to here. It's that one that everybody just wants rubbed, right? Yeah, it kind of feels good. So what you want to do is basically you just want to side bend your head gently, and I'm going to encourage gently here because you don't want to be cranking on your neck. That's not going to make you feel better. You want to gently pull your head to the side. If it helps, take your other hand, kind of grab the seat below you. You can get a little bit stronger stretch through there. And you should basically feel it going straight down, maybe the side of your neck, maybe into the top of the shoulder. Depending on where you're tight is probably where you'll feel it. After that, this is a nice opportunity to then turn your nose kind of down toward your shoulder, your armpit. Move your hand towards the back of your head and gently pull it forward now. And you'll feel it more down the back of the neck into kind of the top of the shoulder blade. And that's another one of those spots.
That feels really good.
Yeah, and you can hold it for about 20 seconds or so. Sometimes I encourage some people, if you do have some neck issues, be careful with these, but I encourage people that it seems a little silly, push your head back up. Once you've just stretched the muscle, especially if you got a little aggressive, the last thing you want to do is use those same muscles to kind of crank your neck up. So just gently push, it helps.
Great.
And then you could do that obviously for the other side. So that's just some neck specifics that you can play with. But again, please, if they hurt, contact somebody. Online telehealth is a thing. Everybody has a PT, hopefully, that they love. It doesn't have to be us. Find a person that you trust. Get a hold of them. They'll help you if you have some issues. Don't just push into pain because it keeps hurting and you think it's good for you.
Okay.
So that's with the neck. The other portion is through here, right? Tightness in the front of the chest. Tightness in the upper back. Simple things. These are all things you can do sitting in your chair. You don't even have to get up. I should probably give you one where you have to get up, but I'm not going to because you probably won't do it. So the right answer is you could put your hands, kind of interlock your fingers and pull your arms out forward. Stretch that upper back gently. Let the chin drop to your chest. Stretch there, breathe. Breathing helps. Deep breathing causes nice rib expansion, helps stretch some of those muscles through the thoracic spine. And then what you can do to counteract that is take your hands, reach behind your body, and gently squeeze your shoulder blade.
Like your camera down maybe a little bit so you can see your hands.
Absolutely. So my hands are back here, and I'm squeezing this way. You don't need to do this. You don't need to raise the arms as high as you can. That might cause a little shoulder strain. It's more about opening up the collarbones, opening up the front of the chest.
So you're really targeting opening this area, your collarbone area, not going all the way up and probably hurting yourself.
Yes, ma'am, absolutely. It's not like you want your kids to come and crank your arms up and see how far they can go just for fun. I wouldn't recommend it. Maybe good for job security, but not good for your body, so don't do it.
Great. So those are a couple stretches. Talk to us about telehealth. You mentioned that. You know, traditionally I've thought of telehealth for when I have a cold, right? And you're mentioning it with PT. Talk to me about how that works.
Yeah, no, that's a great question because a lot of people, depending on your experience or lack thereof with PT, telehealth seems silly. You know, it's like, oh, well, don't they just work on you and then make you do things that hurt and then they send you home? The reality is, well, we can make you do all those things at home to yourself. There's a lot that can be done. Like I said, it was pretty eye-opening for me. It's like those nerdy memes where it's like what I think I do, what my mom thinks I do, what my physical therapist thinks I do, and then what you actually do. And the reality is we can give people stuff here in a perfect ideal setting, and they look great when we're there cueing them, telling them to do everything. And when they get home, they try to do these exercises or suggestions that we give for how to move, and they don't look the same. So telehealth has been really great. Telehealth is now paid for by your insurance company, thanks to the state of Washington, at least for a time period. And so if you're having issues, but you're afraid to come in, call your local PT clinic, or if you don't know one, there's lots of good ones out there like us providing services. But the reality is you'll get an evaluation from your therapist. They'll probably watch you move well, they will watch you move, but depending on which body part or kind of painful issue that you're dealing with, we're going to do still a full examination, just like we would in the clinic, minus the getting our hands on you to feel things part. So it's a little bit different, but we're trained in a lot of different ways to observe and judge and grade movement to help identify what's probably causing your issue. Once we nail that down, or at least get a good feel for what's going on, now we can get to the meat of it and see what you're dealing with at home in terms of equipment or space, or again, I've done a lot of home office ergonomic changes that have started to make big improvements in people, even though they're not even leaving their house.
So I have one question from somebody on the webinar. So she has to work from her bedroom. So I have to work from my bed. It's the only room that I have privacy, and there's no room for a desk and or a chair. I have a back pillow, a lap desk with adjustable legs, and a portable monitor and a second screen. Any suggestions on how to make the best of it?
That is a great real life situation. Thank you for bringing it up, because again, it just depends on what we're looking at. So it sounds like you've got a lot of equipment. So there's an adjustable lap desk. It really helps to see these things, honestly, but depending on what you're dealing with, the thing you can keep in mind the most is definitely the neck and shoulder posture. So if you can raise that table up, that lap desk up to the point where you're not down here doing this, you're going to want to try to use a pillow. Again, use something firm if you can, if it doesn't go high enough. Layer it up so that you're still here. If you're sitting in bed, if you've got a headboard that's flat, use that as your sort of back support. If you need a folded towel or a little lumbar roll, you can use that for your low back for some support as well. And then at the very least, what you could try to do, if it works, if it's achy on your low back, sitting like that, number one, adhere to the principles. You need to take breaks from that posture. You can't stay in that position all day and expect to feel good at the end of it. So the other thing that you can try, though, for those periods where you're sitting, you're kind of long sitting with your feet out, throw something under your knees. Put a little bend in the knees, whether it's, again, a rolled up towel. If you've got a little foam roller or something you can stick under there. Putting a little slack in the hamstrings might take the edge off the low back as well. So there's a lot of different things. I would recommend switching it up, though. Don't do the same thing all day, every day. Whether that's like getting in a tall kneel position. So if we have you here, if this was my bed, if I'm you, go up a tiny bit. I'm on my knees now, but maybe I can get to the point where I can get here for at least 10 or 15 minutes, answer some emails, get out of bed. My hips are straight instead of being bent all day. Get you a new position, and then you can get back in bed when you have that call or whatever.
Yeah, as you mentioned earlier, you know, very few people have a perfect setup. Even folks that had home offices are now finding themselves working in them so much more than before. I know a lot of employers that I've talked to are recognizing that a work from home type of situation is going to be a little bit more permanent or a little bit longer than you know, the original end of March was thought of. You know, I know some large employers have already said through October, and obviously every company will be a little bit different. One of the things I would encourage people to talk to their employers about is, you know, is there equipment in your normal work station that you could, you know, check out or use, go in at a socially distant proper time to go get your mouse, your, you know, keyboard, those sorts of things as well. So one comment from a participant here. So just another suggestion to add to the conversation. This is awesome. I've been told that lowering your screen brightness and increasing the contrast greatly reduces eye strain, and it's worked for him.
And it might help some people not lean forward so hard to look. That's the other thing, because if the contrast is set off, I've heard that as well. I think that's a great suggestion. Obviously from this, because you can also get headaches from the eye strain, right? From the having to stare, or you just get tired. But again, if you have a little bit of a hard time seeing, or if you wear like graduated lenses, people are doing this kind of thing to read through their glasses. Headaches, neck pain, headaches, those two go hand in hand. So be on the eye for those things, but mess with the screen settings, absolutely. Zoom in the font. I don't care if it makes you feel old, it will help your neck. Please do it. If you need,
the reality is
find yourself
everybody's getting older every day, so we should just embrace it at every age.
Yes. Like the chat box right now, if I wanted to read it from here, I probably could not. So I would be doing this, and I would not take my own advice very well. Zoom in on things, blow it up. It's okay. No one else will see it anyway. So
let's talk a little bit about standing desk ergonomics. So, you know, people might have a kitchen counter or a bar space that they're using. You you know, I know you have your treatment table that is adjustable. Could you talk us through, you know, some of the things to be looking for in a standing desk
So
environment?
the good news is it's from everything except for, so the hip angle and the feet are obviously going to touch the floor. If they're not, let me know how you're doing that. That's impressive. But from the neck and shoulder perspective, everything should be the same. So you still want to be a gentle tuck. You still want your shoulders relaxed. So here's where, if you wanted to work from your kitchen island, because you need to stand for a while because you already had a lower back issue or something, and you can't sit that long. You're trying to stand at home. You put your laptop on the kitchen counter. Your neck might be in a good posture, or you can raise it up. You're still in that same situation with the keyboard. So again, I would recommend some kind of a removable keyboard system. And then whether that's like at my house, I've got this little breakfast bar I could stand and do some work at, but I couldn't have the keyboard that high and feel good about it. So I would have to use, we have this little side table that for myself, it works great. It's about a foot lower. I get there and then my shoulders are still at that comfortable height. And I'm staring at, again, the laptop on the breakfast bar. So those things work. From the standing perspective, if you're standing on something really firm, like your hardwood floor or tile or linoleum, something like that, this is why at offices, they often have those nice cushioned pads when you're standing for long periods of time. I would recommend, if you stand there for too long, you might feel it as well. So again, it's a matter of, do you just switch positions? For a couple hours, you're in a standing spot, taking breaks, maybe bending your knees every once in a while just to kind of move around a little bit. But then go back to your seating system, whatever it is that you have set up. So.
Great. Do you have any kind of common household items that you would recommend for kind of making a softer surface for people?
Yeah, softer surface. If you've got an old yoga mat, use it.
Oh,
Sit on it. A lot of people either aspire to do home exercise, whether just because of this or in general, and sometimes they're good at it and sometimes they're not. Even if you haven't used it, it's really useful for your standing desk area. A lot of people have already some of those mats in their kitchen that are kind of soft, squishy, foamy. I know Costco's sold them forever. If you've got that like by your sink or your stove, that works well, something like that. A folded towel on the hardwood floor would suffice to at least take the edge off a little bit. It doesn't have to be fancy. Like I said, there's a lot of normal stuff that you can use. So.
Great. Well, Carrie, thank you so much for your time. And I want to also just offer to folks, virtual care these days is amazing. As Carrie was talking, it can even be applied in a physical therapy setting. I will break my own HIPAA right now. I have done, you know, appointments for PT during this COVID situation as well, which, you know, going into it, I was a little skeptical, like, okay. But as you were saying, Carrie, you know, when I go to see my PT, the first thing they do is say, okay, stand there, look left, look right. They're observing me. And there's so much that happens from that initial observation and conversation of like, does it hurt when you do this? Those sorts of things. And honestly, I feel like I've taken better care of myself lately because I don't have to drive to the clinic, have an appointment.
People make their appointments a lot better. They are more timely and their attendance is much higher. It's wonderful. I'm not upset.
That's great. So I do encourage folks to take advantage of these resources in this time and utilize virtual care for mental health, for physical therapy, for common everyday illnesses, dermatology, really all of the major practice areas can be done virtually right now, which is great, and many with no copays. So
yes, your local business and take advantage of your benefits, everybody.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much. And with that, I hope everyone has a very wonderful Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and hopefully enjoy this where hopefully it's going to be like 80 degrees during this time. So it's a mini summer vacation for some folks over the next few days. So enjoy and stay safe. Thanks, Carrie.
Thanks.